easier for me to speak about. We have one of Uganda's leading sports administrators, Mr. Moses Muhangi. He's on the show. He's also a learned friend. He'll explain a bit later what that means. But I want to thank my sponsors, MTN and Speak Apartments, for giving us this lovely venue where we shoot. And I hope all of you in this time, it's a trying time for everybody with COVID-19. I hope you're all staying safe, you're observing the SOPs and doing what you have to do. Again, thank you to the government of Uganda for keeping us safe, for keeping us healthy. It's not always the case across the world, but the president and his team have done a wonderful job. Welcome to another episode of the Cedric Live Show. Welcome to the Cedric Live Show. On today's show, we discuss sports. As you know, sports is a $1.7 trillion a year industry. We have, superstars made out of sport. But you know what? People always forget that sports is a business. Sports is a business that employs more people in the whole of Western Europe. On today's show, I have a special guest, a friend of mine, a learned friend. By learned, I mean he's a lawyer by profession, a boxing administrator, and one of the young guns in sports administration in Uganda. Let me welcome to the show my friend, Mr. Moses Muhangi. Welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. It's the first time I've been in this kind of a show.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to be here.
Good to have you. You know, many people come on this show and people want to know who they are, where they grew up, what they did. Of course, you're the president of boxing, and of course you've been quite active in the media, in terms of the initiatives you've had with boxing.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about yourself. I also know you're a lawyer.
Yeah.
And you graduated recently.
So there's so much to know about me.
Yeah.
I think I really thank God that I've been a 360 degrees kind of guy.
Yeah.
Because I've been in all walks of life. I've been into school, where my first degree was in statistics. Then my second was in law. Then I became an advocate after going through LDC. Then I'm a street person. The way you can see me, I'm on the street, I'm into boxing. I'm a business person. So my life has been like that. I've been in politics before. At one stage I was a city councillor in Kampala City Council, the capital city of Uganda. Yeah. So you realize that I have so much experience to offer at this young age of mine, because I've been almost in every portfolio of life.
Well, it's good to have you, man, and it's good that you at least you volunteer some of your time. What many people don't know is that 99% of sports federation presidents are volunteers.
Yeah.
They don't earn from the sport.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have you. I know it's a big sacrifice what you do as president of boxing.
Yeah.
And of course I know because
because
I'm also a president of tennis. Tell me something. Let's be specific about sport. Sport in Uganda has had its lows, and maybe now it's beginning to more people are beginning to understand the business of sports. What's your view on sports in Uganda?
For a very long time, sport was seen as a luxury, for a very long time. And I think time has come when we need to see it as a business, when we need to see it as an industry, as an economy. And this takes us now, people who are in charge, to make Ugandans see it as a business, as an economy. Because if you travel outside Uganda, say you go to Europe, sports is a huge industry. It employs people, it pays taxes, so many people benefit from it. It also gives luxury as well, but again, there's so much to do with business more than luxury. So here in Uganda, that's why even in Uganda, they will say, ebyemizannyo. They take it lightly.
They're going to play.
Byamizannyo, just there. So we need to grow from that kind of thinking as a country, as a population, and see it as an alternative to career development. Because if you go to Europe, people are making a killing out of sports. People are making so much money. They are building mansions and all these things. Yet here, it seems to be lagging behind. Not because there's no potential, but just because the leadership, the administration, the focus, the mindset needs to be redirected. So that's my view about sport.
So boxing is, historically, in Uganda, it was probably at one time the leading sport in Uganda. That's where we've got,
It is still the leading sport.
Oh, okay.
It is still the leading sport up to now.
Yes.
Yeah, because since the 50s until today, we still have the highest number of medals from the Olympic Games.
Okay.
We still have the highest number of medals from the Commonwealth Games. Just recently from the All Africa Games, we had the highest tally of medals still.
Yes.
These are things I'm talking. This is 219. I'm talking 220. Sorry, I'm talking about.
Yes.
So all these medals we're still in number one position.
Right.
When it comes to innovation, you've seen all the innovations we've been coming up with. We're still trending even when we are not having so much activity of boxing.
Mm-hmm.
So we still consider ourselves as number one sport, given the sports excellency, given the innovations that we come up with, given the ground mass kind of support. It's just that there are challenges that maybe in a way they depict a wrong picture, but we're still number one position.
So how do we convince the powers that be, that sports is very important in terms of, how do we convince them? I mean, we've made noise.
Yeah.
We've gone up in arms, we've written in the press, we've shown them by example. You tell me you have the most medals, probably the leading medal, okay, you're the leading medal tally holders in Uganda. How do we encourage government to come in, like
support fully?
I'm not talking about what is happening now. We appreciate, of course, the few billions that it's come from a long way. But how do we make them fully invest in the business of sports?
I think it's more to do with the leadership approach.
Yes.
Because the Ministry of Education and Sports and the National Council of Sports and the UOC, these are the people that are holding sports in the country.
Right.
Now, the mindset of the leaders in those institutions also plays a very critical role in how the government will see these sports.
Yes.
If you go to the floor of parliament and you may be chairman of a national council and you cannot justify why the government should come in, or you're the minister of sports, and still you can't make that strong case, then we always have a problem. So what I think needs to be done is the people leading us, they need to have proper strategy that's functioning, that can be evaluated, that has time limits, that can be monitored. Not just saying I'm a minister of sports or I'm a chairman of national council and that's it. Let's just go and play games and that's all. There must be a strategy. What do you want to achieve in 1 year, in 2 years, and all this time? So I think the quality of leadership has been the problem for sport for all this time. I have strong belief in the current leaders, in Honorable Bua and Mama Janet Museveni, and then the chairman national council. Yes. I'm hoping if given time, maybe they will change this situation that we are in.
Yes.
But I'm thinking that there has to be more to do with the leadership approach than just what we are saying on radio and TV.
Yes.
Because I'll give you an example. If you go to parliament, you're lobbying for funds, and you cannot justify to them that we've been winning this much and we need to move from here to here, it becomes hard because every single person who sees a sports person, the first question is, what have you won? Right? But now in Uganda, we moved from that analogy of what have you won to how many people can you mobilize, to how many people can you employ. So we in a way changed the terrain from the essentials of sport, because sport is competition. You must be able, if you see Gola Moses, you ask him when was the last time you won your fight. You see? You don't ask him how many fans you have. Now, the moment we moved from that analogy to now saying we have numbers, we pay so much taxes, then now we became something else. Yes. So we need to go back to the basics. Let's see the minister go to the parliament with Cheptegei on his right arm and Kiprotich on the left arm, saying these guys are champions of Uganda. I need so much money to make more than 20 champions. You get the point? But you can't go to the parliament and say, you know what, when we're in Nambole, we get 40,000 funds. So give us more money. It doesn't make any sense. If it's in tennis, pick the stars in tennis. Pick the stars in swimming. Let them make the case for you. But you will hardly go to parliament and talk about boxing. Yet you know you have all these medal tallies. So if you don't talk about these people, how will then you ask for resources, for government intervention? So we missed the point on what should we front as sports people.
Yes.
Yes, and that's what the challenge is. And up to now, it's still haunting us. Because now you meet Cheptegei on the road and he's just like any other normal Ugandan. But this guy is a world star. He should be having a convoy. He should be having so much pomp around him. He should be having a road named after him. You see, this is how now you make sense for sport.
Yes.
But now you can move, you won't see Kiprotich anymore, you won't see Nzukuru anywhere, because there's no deliberate program to glorify these guys and then want to interest other guys to join in.
We'll be right back with Moses Muhangi, the president of the Uganda Boxing Federation. We're discussing sports in Uganda. Thank you to my sponsors MTN and Speaker Partners. Stay tuned.
Peak Apartments offers you 5-star of the city into the lavish and spacious living room. Those who appreciate the finer things in life. Speak Apartments is also offering and relax defines fine living. Also on the premises is East Africa's largest gym, children's play area, ample parking, Cabana restaurant and bar has you covered with a number of cuisines from around the world. If it's fine dining you love, Speak Apartments defines the fun. Located at the edge of Wampeo Avenue, Speak Apartments is your luxury home in the heart of Kampala City.
Yoga, yoga, bene. Ogunde, Gunde, Sabasaja. On behalf of MTN, I would like to congratulate His Royal Highness, the Kabaka of Buganda, Ronald Muwenda Mutebi II, on his 27th coronation anniversary. I offer my good wishes to the people and the Kingdom of Buganda. Wangala, Ai Sabasaja, Wangala, Maso, Moji.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Welcome back to the Cedric Live Show. I'm here with the president of the Uganda Boxing Federation and one of Uganda's leading sports administrators, Mr. Moses Muhangi. We're talking boxing, we're talking sport, and I'd like to thank my sponsors, MTN and the Speak Apartments, for your contributions to making this show happen. So, Moses, you were telling me about celebration of
our stars,
of our celebrities.
our local champions.
Yeah, going all the way back to the 50s, the 60s, the Akibuas, the Ravogos, all the stars that have come out of Uganda. But let me tell you something. I probably have been in sports a bit longer by virtue of age than you have. And a few months ago, I went to see a great man, a great Ugandan leader. We won't get into names because I haven't got his permission to use his name. And he said to me, you know, I like what you guys say. I like the idea of what you guys say. One of them being celebrating sports people. But you see, the problem with you young people is that you want things to happen without taking all things into perspective. Why do I say this? In order for sports to develop in this country, it has to be included in Vision 2040, in the National Development Plan, and by extension, the federations. And taking into consideration what the international federations contribute or partner, whichever way, because each international federation is different. And this to me was an eye-opener. But I also said to the person that what is also important is, aside from us celebrating the superstar, the Cheptegei, the Kiprotich, the Nzikuru, the Halima, all of them, how about we measure from a business point of view how much return on investment we can make? And let me give you a case in point. In 2012, Anthony Joshua was an amateur at the London Olympics. And he won a gold medal. Today, he's almost a £1 billion, not dollar, a £1 billion athlete. Yes, he's the world champion. Yes, that comes with a lot of... But we could have done that many times.
Yeah.
So my question is, maybe it's a case of one, making a case to be included in the National Development Plan with the idea that, we have to go step by step and create a 1-year plan, a 2-year, short-term, medium term, and long-term. And then number two, understanding the business of sport. What's your take on that?
It makes sense, but then I think it all comes back to what I raised earlier.
Yes.
Leadership.
Yes.
It all comes back on who is in charge.
Yes.
Now you see how we are structured as a country. The president will appoint a minister. You wouldn't know under what circumstances, under what grounds, right? Then the minister will come into play.
Yes.
Then the minister also appoint the chairman of NCS.
Yes.
So you will find that me as a federation head, I'm not privy on what arrangement they had.
Yes.
You can't know what's the target given to these guys that have been appointed,
Yes.
what their strategy is, what they want to do for sport. So now once you have a gap in leadership, then those problems will stay. It won't be so easy to deal with them.
Yes.
Now, I think there has to be a way in how, first of all, we work with the law, or
Yes.
maybe amend the law,
Yes.
so that the federations have a strong input to determine on who becomes their leaders. And these leaders should be on merit, not because someone has been handpicked by someone, because now there's so much rules lobbying in the country, against merit stuff. Because now issue should be, if you're the chairman of National Council, what is your strategy? Is it communicated to the people you're leading? Do they know where you guys are going? I can tell you, your fellow president of a sport federation, right now, you may not know the strategy of NCS, right?
No, I don't.
You may not know, or it may not even be there, or not communicated to you.
Yes.
You get the point? So now how do you fit into something that you don't know?
Correct.
The strategies of the minister, all you see is press conferences, a few meetings here and there, but then there has to be a strategic plan.
Yes.
This is what we want to do. We have 51 federations, for example. How do we develop each one of them? What's the plan? Can we see that every 2 years one federation is going to be developed from stage A to stage B? So it's all coming back to leadership. I'll give you my own example. When I came into boxing, it was almost dead.
Yes,
no one was talking about boxing. It wasn't in the media. It wasn't anywhere. But now, every single 2 days is going to be a story about boxing, either on TV, on radio, right? And now people think boxing has started with me. Yet it was there even before I was born.
Yes.
So it all comes to the approach of the leader, how he's trying to do whatever he's doing. And this shapes all these questions you're talking about.
Right.
But going beyond that, I'll give you a simple example. Right now, we have about 150 districts in Uganda. And all federations are stuck. They don't have facilities. So why wouldn't the Ministry of Education and Sports liaise with the Ministry of Lands, go to the districts, and each district gives at least 1 acre of land, right? Because there's so much government land
Yes.
in Uganda, free land.
Yes.
It's at Uganda Land Commission, and also the districts have their own land boards.
Right.
And this we can get for free, 1 acre in every district.
Right.
Then now the job will be, how do we get funders to develop these facilities? But we have no land. All we have is Gogo, which was given to us maybe so many years ago. And since then, no other development in terms of infrastructure. Now you're going to hear someone saying we don't have land. But then there's free land from the government. So if the leadership comes in with the strategy saying in this 1 year, we're going to write proposals, the Ministry of Lands, sit down with the authorities in different districts, and first of all, secure land for federations. You see? So now you're moving, but now you're going to be here, 1 year goes, another year, all we think about is the Olympics, World Cup, and that's it.
Yes.
So now the leadership is very, very instrumental. And once we miss a point on that, then we have really lost it. Now, we have potential to develop champions, because that we have exhibited. Yes. When you look at people like Sharif Bogere, John Beast Mugabe, Godfrey Nyakana, Justin Juko, right? Footballers, we have so many people. So that shows you that there is potential.
We have talent.
To develop talent.
Yes.
Right? So the issue is not talent anymore. The issue is the environment to support these talents. And the environment is a structural organization where the ministries would come in, where the chairman, National Council would come in and have a long-term strategy that can be achievable, communicated to people, and everyone understands where we are going. But right now, no one knows where we're going. We're just there. Every day goes, we ask for money from government, and that's it. Actually, we have minimized the debate. We have made it smaller, because all we talk about is when are we getting more money from the government.
Yes.
We are not talking about all the other auxiliary issues around the development
like
of
infrastructure.
Sport. Yes. No one is talking about infrastructure, right? The only infrastructure they're talking about is Nambole, But Nambole want to grow a young boy from school. They want to grow a young boy from the ghetto. You get it? Yet there's so much land. We can work with the authorities. If you go to, when I was in the council, we used to have a fund, a vote for sports development, for community development, and we can tap in those funds in all these local governments.
Right.
But no, you don't hear that debate coming up. Every single time you have a meeting at council, it's about when should we increase the money from the government, and it's just centered there.
Let me give you an idea.
Yeah.
This is just an idea. Now, I always wanted to discuss this, and I think I have discussed it with other federation presidents.
Yeah.
This year, the vote for sport was 19 billion.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Last year was 26 billion.
But this year it's been
now
dropped
it's
a little
17 billion.
Okay,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. What if, first of all, in order for people to have a broader perspective,
Yeah.
like what you're talking about, infrastructure, investment in the grassroots,
Yeah.
doing what we have to do, pulling in the local councils, pulling in the
Schools.
the schools, whatever it may be. First of all, each secretariat needs to have a basic, which means that because most federation leaders today are probably one of the only sectors of society who work for free.
Yes.
So they can only work intermittently. So they can work Monday, Wednesday, and maybe then the next Thursday. Because they have to sacrifice.
Yeah.
So they can't focus. But out of this 19 billion and the 52 federations, why, or the 52 legitimate federations, the ones that are already functioning, why can't we take a little bit to fund each of the secretariats so they're able to think and implement what you are saying right now in terms of infrastructure development? Because you see, when you're hungry, and when I say by hungry, I don't mean individually, but when you are basically on oxygen, your mind can't expand. You're always trying to quick fix. Oh, the team is going to the Commonwealth. The team is going to, I don't know, the Olympics. The team is going, so you're always begging, please help me, let me survive. And even what you normally do, you can't do because you're trying to survive. If you understand what I mean. So what do you think of that?
No, what I think is, one, that's a good thing to do, but I doubt it's sustainable. Because if you have, say, 17 billion, and you give a federation, say, maybe 100 million, because the 70 billion is for a whole year.
Yes.
So now if you go in 2 quarters, it will be much less. So let's say each federation gets 100 million, for example. But, and that 100 million is to last you for that whole entire quarter, right?
To fund your secretariat.
Yeah, for that quarter. So you find the secretariat fine, but you see the challenge of sport has not even been about the secretariats. Has been, one, the lack of capacity to have regular events. The moment you don't have regular events, then you cannot have fan bases. Because what are they going to watch? There's nothing to watch. So if you don't have regular events, then you cannot have fan bases. If you can't have fan bases, then you will never have a sponsor. The reason people are sponsoring this show because you have a huge following for it. But they are coming in when you're already doing a set. You're already producing the show. So we need, first of all, produce the content for each federation.
Correct.
Now, that 100 million may not be enough for you to produce regular events. Now, that means you can't attract funds. That means you can't attract sponsors. So it's going to be a cycle. Like last year, they gave us 26 billion. It was spent like that. And 26 billion is gone. You can't show any stadium developed. You can't show any serious sports excellence on ground, but the money is gone. So you're thinly trying to appease everyone. You get the point?
Yes.
If I was in charge, I would rather say, I have an advantage in tennis.
Now let's stop at your advantage.
Yes.
We'll be right back. Stay tuned. I'm here with Moses Muhangi, the president of UBF, Uganda Boxing Federation, discussing sport. Once again, my sponsors, MTN and Speak Apartments, thank you. And we'll be right back.
Nantumbwe Barbara muwala w'omwami n'omukyala Emmanuel Sewakiryanga Kiwanuka Ndi muzzukulu wa Joseph Bidde Musse wa Kiryanga era nga neddira Kobe wano ku MTN tuyozaayoza Ssaabasajja Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi owookubiri okutuuka ku matikkira ag'omulundi ogwa 27. Wangaala ayi Ssaabasajja, wangaala maaso moogi.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Welcome back to the Cedric Live Show. I'm still here with Moses Muhangi, the president of Uganda Boxing Federation, an advocate here in Uganda, and one of Uganda's leading sports administrators. I'd like to thank MTN and Speak Apartments for your sponsorship of the Cedric Live Show. Moses, we're talking about the allocation by government to sports. And sorry, I cut you off because we had to go to commercial. But you're talking about how we can better utilize these resources.
Yeah, because you realize that the government support, this kind of support, hasn't been here for so long.
Yes.
Because it should be like maybe 4 or 5 years ago,
yes,
or even less. That means even before the 5 years, these sports were surviving either way, with
yes,
no government support. Now, when the money came in, now the issue was about the approach. Now, the people who are there, I think they chose a mass kind of support. When you do mass support, then you become thin and you make no impact in any of these federations. And like you say, there's no impact as of today.
Yes.
The only federation that seems to have some sort of results is FUFA, because there's been so much money given to it.
Yes.
Now, if you have maybe 17 billion right now, you as a country, if you're having strategy, is to identify and say, I have an advantage in maybe 2, 3, 4 sports federations. Then you say, let me give myself a target of 2 years. In these 2 years, let me invest heavily in tennis, in these 4, maybe tennis is an example, the 4 federations, make sure they have facilities, make sure they have equipment, make sure they have secretariats that are functioning and running, so that in these 2 years, you've been able to enable them to stand on their own. Then after 2 years, you say, okay, now tennis, you're now self-sustaining, because you have given you enough resources, you have the facilities, you have the functioning secretariats, you have marketing departments, because you can do regular games, now you have a fan base being developed, you have sponsors coming in, so now you're grown up, baby. That's after 2 years.
Yeah.
Now, you know, the 4 have now, they have now grown, they have surpassed the stage of being dependent on the government resources. Now you pick another 4 in the next disbursement. By the time you're done with 10 years, you'll have all these federations self-sustaining. But now, the model of us supporting everyone, like it has been, in whichever irregularities it is, hasn't worked. Because you saw last year, we spent 26 billion. It's only FUFA that got 10 billion that is still surviving. The rest of the other federations, they are still struggling. So that shows you that this mass support may not help so much. The question will have to be on how involved we come in as federations to agree on this kind of approach. And we see if they have picked tennis, let's all first support tennis. After all, for the last 20 years, we didn't have government funds coming through. We were still surviving, we were there. So let tennis go through, let athletics go through, let so and so go through. Then we come in the second phase. And that's the only way you can phase out this kind of disbursement in an arranged pattern, and it benefits everyone. But what's happening today won't benefit anyone.
Let me say something. I agree with you, but I also disagree with you.
Yes.
Let me agree with you because of concentration on particular sports. Let's look at the West Indies, Jamaica, Barbados, all those countries, the Bahamas. What they decided to do was to invest in 2 sports. They invest in athletics, Usain Bolt, whoever, and they invest in cricket. So the West Indies have a brilliant cricket team and brilliant athletes. Sprint athletes. They don't really have long distance athletes. So I agree with you there. Then where I disagree is what happens to the other sports that don't have, that
are not being looked into?
Not being looked into. Now, I'll then take the logic you've applied. Let the first 4, elevate,
Yeah.
and then the rest will be looked
They
after
follow
later.
through.
Follow through.
Then you will have a standard of how you pick the 4.
Right.
That is convincing. That's convincing to all these federations.
Right.
They all must be convinced about it.
Right.
That this is how I picked the 4.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
just to go back to what you're saying, is that I agree with you on that part.
Yeah.
Because you've got to focus on something
Yeah.
to generate results.
Yes.
So boxing needs, let's say, the same money that FUFA got
Yeah.
last year in order for you guys
To be sustainable in 2 years.
Yeah, to produce the Anthony Joshuas
Yeah.
of this world.
And also to attract big sponsors.
Yes, and to attract big sponsors.
Yes.
Because big athletes, big sponsors.
Yes.
Showtime, it's just
Yeah.
the way it works.
Yeah.
Now, another thing that I feel, and I want to dig into your knowledge of this.
Yeah.
I come from a federation
Yeah.
where we don't, technically speaking,
Yeah.
need that much government intervention.
Yeah.
But what is important to us is our relationship with our international federation.
Yeah.
I think you've seen me discuss this.
Yeah.
Now, the international federations, I'll give you an example, cricket.
Yeah.
Depending on the level you are in your country, the international cricket
IF, the IF.
ICC
Yeah.
gives them more money.
Yeah.
And at one time, I think Uganda was receiving almost $500,000.
Yeah.
In tennis, where I am the federation, they are willing to offer us facilities depending on our involvement with them. So if we pay our affiliation fees, which are higher than most,
Yeah.
like our affiliation fees are nearly $6,000 a year.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's say government, pay our affiliation fees. Let's take all the facilities that the International Federation gives us,
Yeah.
from wheelchair tennis to facilities development, those infrastructure projects you're talking about.
Yeah.
So every federation is different.
That's
And for
a-
example,
that-
like FUFA
Yeah.
has to also come to us and tell us, guys, listen, yes, you gave us 10 billion, but we also receive $10 million
Yeah.
from FIFA.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether I don't know what the situation is with boxing.
Yeah.
So it has to be a combination of
No, what happens
different
is,
things. Yeah.
Cedric, this is what has to happen. One, and this I talked about
Yeah.
so many months ago,
Yeah.
that also the leaders we have, they don't actually understand these sports that we run.
Yes.
You're going to find you have a minister who doesn't know so much about tennis.
Yes.
All these things you're talking about, maybe he doesn't know, right? So there's need. Actually, I remember even when Honorable was coming in on the floor of council, I remember saying he needs to find time to sit with every federation
Yes.
and get to understand the details of these federations. Now, if you find cases like those can be catered for. If all you need is even if it was $10,000
Yes.
for you to attract so much money,
Correct.
then those can be grouped. You
Yes.
know, I have grouped so and so. He has unique requirements that will lead us into something else.
Yes.
Those you have them on the table. Then you also know as a country what is our direction in terms of sport. Like you
Right.
rightly said, if you go to Kenya, they're into athletics.
Yes.
If you go to Brazil, it's football.
Yes.
If you go to Ethiopia, it's athletics maybe.
Yes.
You go to India, it's cricket.
Yes.
When you come to Uganda, what's our sport? We don't even have a niche sport.
Yes.
That Uganda is known for, sport ABCD.
Correct.
So now, if you don't move in that direction, then how do you manage? Then the second thing is, you will say, if you go to National Council, they'll say we have priority sports. They have 8 of them, where
Yes.
boxing is also included. But they're just priority on paper. Because you can't say someone is a priority, you're giving them 500 million for a quarter, for a whole financial year, and you say it's a priority sport. You say someone is a priority, he has no training facility. You say someone is a priority, you don't look into how they're administering the secretariats, how they are working.
Yes.
So then what's priority about them? Right? Because now what council calls priority is when you're going for competitions. Olympics have come, we are going to the Olympic Games, now boxing is a priority sport.
And this is where I have a problem.
But now
because
you forget, these guys you're taking to the Olympic Games, how have they trained? Where are they training from? Who's training them? How were they identified? So now the word priority loses meaning.
Yes.
Yes. So now we need to say, if tennis is our priority sport as a government,
Yeah.
let's make sure tennis has facilities.
Everything it needs.
Let's make sure tennis has a structure where they are seated. They have human resource.
Right.
They have regular games.
Yes.
They have equipment. That's
Yes.
what makes them a priority sport.
Correct.
But now in Uganda, it's the opposite. So it's just a word priority just on paper.
But it's not actually happening.
Yeah.
We're going to be right back with Moses Muhangi, the president of Uganda Boxing Federation. And thank you to MTN. Thank you to Speak Apartments for the hospitality. Stay tuned.
Halima Wanyana Nkata, muwala wa Mwami Mpaji Charles, muzzukulu wa Mwami Nkata Zephania, neddira Nsenene. Ffe ku MTN tuyazaayoza Ssaabasajja Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mutebi owookubiri okutuuka ku matikkira ag'omulundi ogwa 2007. Wangaala ayi Ssaabasajja, wangaala maaso
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Welcome back to the Cedric Live Show. I'm still here with Moses Muhangi, the president of the Uganda Boxing Federation. We're talking boxing, we're talking sports, we're talking just how to make this industry a big part of our society. We believe that sports is low-hanging fruit. The opportunity is there for us as Ugandans to take advantage of sports. In this particular case, boxing. Thank you, MTN. Thank you, Speaker Apartments, for the hospitality and hosting the Cedric Live Show. So, Moses, we're talking about how to focus on niche sports versus mass, because it leaves us quite thin.
Yeah.
So we have to sort of pick
Yeah.
the fruit that is ripe and invest in it. And I was saying that, listen, I think every federation, in my opinion, is unique in the way they operate.
Yeah.
And my belief is that we should look at each one in its uniqueness and see, okay, we can't give you government support, but what can we do to move you along the way? Because I was saying, for example, like our federation, we don't need much to become self-sustaining. First of all, we're an individual sport, so we don't need much.
That's what I was saying, Cedric. The starting point is to do a self-evaluation.
Correct.
Of all these sports. And people are against it. I don't even know why. Right? If you know you're running a federation, why are you against that idea?
Yes.
The first thing would have been, let's evaluate the capacity, the SWOT analysis of each federation.
Correct.
That can that's what I was saying. We can even just have a retreat. A retreat for a weekend, just 3 days, with the minister and all the leaders, stakeholders in sport, and each federation is given time to make a presentation.
Correct.
Then you discuss your SWOT analysis. These are my strengths, this is what I need to do, and all these things, right?
This is what I need.
Then from out of that meeting, we shall be like, you know what? Tennis, I think you need this. Basketball, I think you need this, right? Then also, to a larger extent, think of what the country wants. Where do you have an advantage as a country?
Right.
You get the point? Which sport probably will involve all the Ugandans that will make sense as a national sport. I know sports federations that are only in one village, in one house, right? And you move in the rest of the country, you can't find a sport. So now there the country plan comes in. What do you want as Uganda?
Yes.
Like how the US guys were like, we want basketball, want boxing, football, okay, want, but not as much as American football.
Yeah.
You get the point? So there must be a deliberate plan to identify a given number of sports that you can front as a country and those that you can support on the parallel. That has to be done, which is not being done up to date. It's not happening, right? That evaluation is not there. And that makes it a big problem. Because if you cannot know who you're dealing with, then how do you manage them? And when you talk about this, Uganda is getting crazy. When you talk about this, everyone says, now that one is fighting us. It doesn't wish good for us, right?
Yes.
But we must know where we're going. We are the next generation. We must plan better than the guys that we found there. I'll give you an example. In the years of Idi Amin, when Uganda was doing great stuff in sports, they didn't have mass sports. They had a few sports, they would invest into them, and they would give them energy to work. And even the president would even give them his chopper, the plane to take them to games and all these things. Because the number was small and it was manageable.
Yes.
And this analogy works everywhere in life. Even in homes, you can't do mass investment. Even a country, it prioritizes. So even in sport, we must do the same, but carefully. And we must have reasons that can convince every federation that so and so knows he's not being considered, not because of politics, not because of underhand methods, but because someone is better than them.
Yes.
And this has to happen whether Muhangi is in boxing or not boxing, whether Cedric is in tennis or not tennis. So we also need to be fair to ourselves. We shouldn't attach emotions, because one thing I've seen in National Council and federations, we tend to debate out of emotions. We tend to attach emotions to what we do. Yet it should be more of logic than emotions, because we are leaders. Me, if they chose tennis over boxing, and I'm given reasons and I'm convinced, I would have no issues.
Yes.
I will get support that guy. That's why I'm always having issues with FUFA, because there has never been any explanation on why they get 10 billion that is justified. There has never been an explanation on why they should get that kind of attention that can be justified to all of us. That's why I keep on saying, does it make any sense? And ask them, tell me, give me any reason why do you take 10 billion and not tennis? Is it because you're winning the World Cup? Did you win African Cup of Nations? Were you in the semi-finals? Why do you want that money? You get the point? So if a guy of woodball comes and says, man, I've been in the World Cup of woodball, I have won something, then he's making sense. So this is the kind of discussion we need to have. Less of emotions, more of logic. Problem is, the whole entire system seems to be emotional thinking.
Yes.
You go to the leadership at NCS, you say one or two words, they're like, you're fighting us. You don't want us to be here, right? People have turned these service jobs into career jobs. You get the point?
So tell me, Moses,
big problem.
We're here talking about sports,
Yeah.
you know, and I think I subscribe to 99% of what you're saying.
Yeah.
In boxing, how is boxing now? Because, I mean, I've seen some good things. I've seen...
Yeah, we're doing
the
so
la-
much
the,
in
the
boxing.
last time I think I saw the shadow boxing
Yeah, challenge.
challenge.
Yeah.
And I saw even boxers or people who think they're boxers entering from all over the world.
Now, what we've done during this time of COVID, there hasn't been so much activity of sports, because, you know, the government put a hold on sports activities.
Yes.
But as a federation, we thought we can't just keep quiet. So we've tried to come up with so many ideas to keep us alive as a sport, and that's how shadow boxing came in picture.
Yes.
Now, shadow boxing was about virtual boxing,
Yes.
imaginary boxing.
Yes.
And it's the first time it was happening here, because that's an idea I thought about being a boxer, like maybe you can engage people.
Are you actually a boxer?
Yes, I
You
am.
can box?
Yes.
Properly?
Very well.
Not shadow box, box?
No, real boxing.
You can box?
Yes.
Okay.
So now that idea, we pushed it, and we're happy that it piqued so much interest from
Yes.
so many people from different countries. I had people from Kenya participating, Somalia,
Yes.
the US, Dubai, all these places.
Yes.
And people were doing their videos, sending them in, and the vibe was so high, media
I saw
people.
it, yes.
Yes, it was all over the place.
Yes.
And we didn't need so much money to do that, and it made so much sense for us as a sport, and also gave us more media presence, because, you know, boxing has had a challenge of media presence.
Yes.
So we're trying to find ways of staying live in the media and all these things. So we think we'll keep doing such innovations to keep the sport alive, and other federations should also do the same, because what if COVID stays here for another 6 months or 1 year? So will you go into limbo or what?
I actually think that it's never going to go away.
Yeah.
It's going to be how we manage
To live with
to
it.
coexist,
Yeah.
like we do with other viruses.
Yeah.
You know, HIV and Ebola and all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see this. I see that, you know, there's a lot of now media with boxing,
Yeah.
and some of the things you've done, and now I see a lot of boxers in the newspapers.
Now, what we've done in boxing, first of all, we have won at the front of media accessibility and also
Yes.
attention. Because when we came in, actually, that's one of the things that I was challenged about. It was only football dominating the back page of any print media, the TV,
Radio,
the prime time news. At 9 p.m., the whole 15 minutes or 10 minutes would be about football. So I needed to find a way of penetrating that sport.
Right.
So as boxing, we've been able to make sense there. At least every single time you're on TV at 9 p.m., 9:30, there will be a story about football and something about boxing maybe.
Yes.
And this has come in where the challenge was, because where football is dominating, because they have so many events. And these events are there because they have so much money from the government. Now, when you don't have so much money as a federation, then you need to be creative on how you dominate this media. Because even the sponsors will be like, they need to see you. They need to be able on TV and see your stuff. So now that we have achieved, then also brought back hope to the people who were doing boxing, because when I came in, they had lost hope. The challenge was people would box in the clubs, but then making it to the national team, there was no policy.
Yes.
It was about who lobbies more. It was about who's friendly to the administrators. So that I squashed. I told them the only policy we're going to have, national team section policy. You enter the ring, you fight with Cedric, you beat him, you're in the national team.
Yes.
He beats you, you're off the team. It doesn't matter whether you're my brother or you're my sister, wherever you're coming from, the ring will be put there.
By pure
and
ability.
that we've done that, and that's why the hope has now come back.
Yes.
People are now excited about boxing. He knows even if I'm from Masaka, if I have talent, I'll be on the national team. That we have achieved. It wasn't easy.
So let me ask something.
Yeah.
Let's say today, you're sitting there with the Minister of Finance,
Yeah.
and he had a checkbook,
Yeah.
and he said, how much does boxing need? And he says, explain it to me. I'm on the first floor to the third floor. What would you tell him?
You see, first of all, the problems for any sport in the country are bigger than just money.
Yes.
There's so much that has to be worked on. First of all, to do with the mindset of people,
Yeah.
to do with the structures,
Yes.
to do with facilities, to do with the people running the sport themselves. So much as we need resources, but we need to have a sustainable program for the resources
Do you have a strategic plan?
that we have. We have a
For
5-year
boxing?
plan for
A
boxing.
5-year plan?
Yes.
How much is your 5-year plan was?
In terms of cost,
Yes.
wow, it's huge money. It could be like 150 billion.
That's not that bad for boxers.
Yeah, but you
Because
see,
if you produce 5 boxers, global boxers,
you would make way more than
you
that.
make much more than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Or
So-
you host events.
Yes,
You
because
make a
there's
lot
so
more.
much we can do hosting events, for example, like when we were in Morocco a few months ago. We had about 40 countries in Morocco.
Yes.
And each country was spending minimum $50,000 US to be in that country.
Yes.
And all this money was spent in Morocco. So that means that's almost $2 million US spent in a period of 7 days. So even Uganda has to look into that direction. Actually, that's what I was saying, there's a leadership problem.
Yes.
Because the Ministry of Education and Sports should be now looking into how do we host events here. If you have an African event here, and all these
We
countries
did.
come
We
here,
had 102 countries here last year.
and the money spent here alone,
Yes.
it would inflate this economy.
Of course.
But now you find the whole year goes, there's no event hosted here because the government is not seeing it. They don't see anything in there.
Yes.
Yet there's so much potential. You could have one for tennis, one for boxing, one for football, and this money keeps coming in.
Yes.
And this money bankrolls our economy,
But we've got to be
employs
careful. You know,
people.
we keep talking about boxing, tennis, but we don't forget our ladies. The lady cranes, the
netballers.
Yeah, they're world class.
Yeah. You know, when we mention tennis and boxing, it's
Yeah.
because maybe we're here we
Yes,
use them as examples.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you that there's so much we can do in sport.
Yes, exactly.
And from hosting events here, from programming these sports, from justifying the kind of monies that we need, there's so much that can be done. The only problem is the solution is not coming because there are no forums to discuss. When you
Yes.
go to National Council, they've done an agenda somewhere, they will tell you discuss this. The last 5 encounters we've had as forums, you never participate in the agenda making as a federation.
Yes.
So the things you discuss what they want you to discuss.
Right.
You see? Then they give you time. Maybe you have 30 minutes to discuss these things, what they have initiated, right? Yet it should be coming from federations.
Yes.
This forum is about federations.
Yes.
So they should ask Cedric, what do you want to discuss from tennis? Basketball, you want to discuss? These things are put on the agenda. Then the agenda can be discussed in phases. Maybe phase 1, these are done. Next phase, these are done. But all the things we are discussing are from top to bottom, not bottom to top. Then how do you give sense?
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's so much that should be. Actually, the sports arrangement should be more to do with federations feeding the entire system on top.
Correct.
But now it's the entire system on top, thinking for the federations, planning for federations, you should discuss this, you should do this. And in extension, they make you feel like you're a structure of NCS.
Yes.
Yet now they don't pay me salary, right? So why would I report to NCS as if I'm an employee of NCS? Because I don't know if you've observed that. They will ask you for reports every time you have a meeting, reports every time you eat food, reports every time every time you run an activity which they don't even know where the money has come from, they want to report onto it. You get it? So you start now thinking, am I working for NCS? Am I on the payroll?
Or are they working for
Or are
the
they,
sports
because
federation?
should be NCS working for the sports federation?
And we work for our clubs and
Yes,
constituents.
that's what it's supposed to be.
Moses
now,
Muhangi-
but now the chairman of NCS or the general secretary of NCS will think he's your boss. You see?
Well,
And
you know what,
that's a
let's not get
structural
started.
problem.
You know,
That's a
we've run out of
structural
time
problem.
today, and Moses
Because
Muhangi.
how do you tell someone who you don't pay a penny,
Yes.
who drives his car, and actually puts in money in the federation,
Correct.
that I should report now to someone at NCS? NCS should be a channel to just tell us what's happening in central government, and we also tell them what's happening in the federation, not them portraying to be now the bosses. When you say this, Muhangi is fighting us. You get it? So these are some of the challenges that we face, and these are structural issues that need to be looked into.
You know, this is something that I could discuss all day. But since we're on national TV, I'm just happy that you came on the show, Moses. Glad to have you. Glad to discuss sport in Uganda. And I'm sure this won't be the last time that we talk about sports in Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Moses Muhangi, the president of the Ugandan Boxing Federation and one of Uganda's leading sports administrators. You heard about sports in Uganda. You heard about boxing in Uganda, even tennis. But thank you very much. And we look forward to having you next week. To my sponsors, MTN and Speak Apartments, thank you very much. Tune in next week.